Right now, as you listen to these words, there are 23 notifications waiting on your phone. Your inbox has 47 unread emails. That project you promised yourself you'd start today sits untouched while you've already spent 2 hours scrolling through feeds that will be forgotten by tomorrow. You know this feeling, don't you? The weight of tasks undone, the quiet desperation of another day lost to digital quicksand, the growing anxiety that whispers you're falling behind while everyone else seems to have it figured out. But what if? I told you that 2,000 years ago, a Roman emperor faced the exact same battle you're fighting today. What if the solution to your procrastination doesn't lie in the latest productivity app or time management hack, but in the ancient wisdom of philosophers who mastered the art of action in a world full of distractions? Marcus Aurelius ruled the greatest empire in human history, yet every morning he struggled with the same voice that whispers in your ear. The voice that says, stay in bed, check your messages first, you'll start tomorrow. In his personal journal, later published as Meditations, he wrote these words to himself at dawn. When you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, I have to go to work as a human being. What do I have to complain of if I'm going to do what I was born for, the things I was brought into the world to do? This wasn't just morning motivation. This was a man who understood that procrastination is not a time management problem, a philosophy problem. It's a clarity problem. It's a problem of not understanding who you are and what you're here to do. Welcome to the most powerful anti-procrastination system ever created, forged not in Silicon Valley boardrooms, but in the marble halls of ancient Rome, the prison cells of enslaved philosophers, and the quiet studies of exiled Stoic masters. Today, we're going to unlock the secrets that helped Marcus Aurelius lead an empire, Seneca build vast wealth while serving as advisor to Nero, and Epictetus transformed from slave to one of history's most influential teachers. The digital age has given us infinite possibilities, but with infinite possibilities comes infinite paralysis. We are drowning in a sea of choices, notifications, and artificial urgencies that our ancestors never faced. Yet the fundamental challenge remains the same. How do we act on what matters when everything seems to demand our attention? The Stoics called this the discipline of action. It's the bridge between knowing what's right and actually doing it. And in our hyper-connected world, this ancient wisdom isn't just relevant, it's essential for anyone who refuses to let their life slip away one notification at a time. Let me tell you about Epictetus. Born a slave in the Roman Empire, he had every excuse to surrender to circumstances beyond his control. He couldn't choose his schedule, his location, or even his daily activities. Yet from this position of ultimate powerlessness, he developed insights about human agency that would echo through centuries. His secret: he understood the most liberating truth any human being can grasp. While you cannot control what happens to you, you have complete control over how you respond. This is the first Stoic hack for beating procrastination: the dichotomy of control. Every time you feel the urge to scroll instead of work, to delay instead of act, to consume instead of create, you're facing a moment of choice. The Stoics would ask you, is this within your control or outside of it? Your phone buzzing? Outside your control? Your response to that buzz? Completely within your control. But here's where most people get it wrong. They think this is about willpower, about gritting your teeth and forcing yourself to ignore distractions. Stoics knew better. They understood that true power comes not from resistance, but from redirection. When Seneca felt the pull of immediate pleasures that would distract from his greater purpose, he didn't fight the urge, he redirected it. Seneca was one of the wealthiest men in Rome, advisor to emperors, with access to every luxury and distraction the ancient world could offer. Yet he maintained a practice he called poverty training, periodically living as if he had lost everything. Eating simple foods, wearing plain clothes, sleeping on hard surfaces. Why? Because he understood that the fear of losing comfort was what made him vulnerable to procrastination. When you're not afraid of discomfort, you're not afraid of difficult work. This gives us the second Stoic hack: voluntary discomfort. In the digital age, this means deliberately creating friction between yourself and your distractions. Marcus Aurelius would begin each day by contemplating death, not to be morbid, but to create urgency. He would remind himself that this day was not guaranteed. That time was his most precious and non-renewable resource. You can apply this principle right now. Before you reach for your phone tomorrow morning, spend 60 seconds contemplating the fact that this day will never come again. This moment of awareness, this opportunity to act on your most important work, will be gone forever if you choose the comfort of mindless scrolling over the difficulty of meaningful action. The emperor would write in his journal, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." In our context, this becomes, you have power over your attention, not the notifications demanding it. Realize this, and you will find strength. But awareness alone is not enough. The Stoics were intensely practical. They understood that philosophy without application is just sophisticated procrastination. This brings us to the third hack, what Epictetus called the discipline of desire. Most people approach their day reactively, responding to whatever demands their attention most loudly. Stoics approach their day proactively, with clear intention about what deserved their precious mental energy. Seneca had a practice of reviewing his day each evening, not to judge himself harshly, but to learn. He would ask, what wound did I heal today? Which failing did I resist? Where can I show improvement? This wasn't self-criticism, it was self-architecture. He was deliberately building the person he wanted to become, one daily choice at a time. You can implement this tonight. Before you sleep, spend 5 minutes reviewing your day. But don't focus on what you didn't do. Focus on what you did do that aligned with your deeper purpose. This practice rewires your brain to seek meaningful action, because you know you'll be accounting for it later. It transforms procrastination from a passive default into an active choice you must consciously make. The fourth Stoic hack emerges from understanding what the philosophers called the view from above. Marcus Aurelius, when feeling overwhelmed by the complexity of ruling an empire, would imagine himself from a cosmic perspective. He would visualize the Earth as a small point in the vast universe. His problems, his temporary perturbations, and the grand flow of time. This wasn't escapism, it was calibration. When you're procrastinating on social media, you're essentially saying that what random strangers are doing with their lives is more important than what you could be doing with yours. The view from above asks you from the perspective of your deathbed. Will you be proud that you spent this hour consuming other people's highlight reels? Or would you rather spend it building something meaningful? But the Stoics weren't naive about human nature. They understood that motivation is not a reliable resource. Epictetus taught that we must build systems that work even when we don't feel like working. This is the fifth hack, the discipline of action through identity, not motivation. The Stoics didn't rely on feeling good to do good work. They relied on being the kind of person who does good work. Marcus Aurelius didn't get up early because he felt like it. He got up early because he was the kind of person who got up early. Seneca didn't write every day because inspiration struck. He wrote every day because he was a writer. This identity-based approach to action is revolutionary in the digital age. Instead of asking, how do I feel about doing this difficult task? You ask, what would someone who has already achieved my goals do in this situation? Then you do that thing not because you feel like it, but because it's consistent with who you're becoming. Let me share a story that illustrates the power of this approach. During the reign of Nero, one of history's most tyrannical emperors, Seneca found himself in an impossible position. As Nero's advisor, he was expected to be available at all times, to respond to every imperial whim, to sacrifice his own projects for the constant demands of court life. Sound familiar? This is the ancient equivalent of being always on, always available. It's always responding to other people's urgencies instead of your own priorities. But Seneca had learned something that modern productivity experts are just beginning. To understand, the most productive thing you can do is often to do nothing at all. He practiced what he called otium, purposeful leisure, intentional non-action. He would deliberately schedule time to do nothing, to think, to let his mind wander. This wasn't procrastination, it was preparation. From these periods of stillness came his greatest insights. his most important letters, his most enduring philosophy. This teaches us the sixth hack: strategic procrastination. Not all delay is procrastination. Sometimes the most productive thing you can do is to pause, to reflect, to let complex problems marinate in your subconscious mind. The key is intentionality. Are you delaying because you're avoiding difficulty, or because you're allowing wisdom to emerge? The Stoics understood that action without reflection is mere activity, but reflection without action is mere self-indulgence. They sought the balance between doing and being, between external achievement and internal development. This brings us to perhaps the most counterintuitive Stoic insight about procrastination. Often what we call procrastination is actually our deeper wisdom trying to redirect us toward more meaningful work. When you can't bring yourself to work on that project, when you keep finding excuses to delay, sometimes your subconscious is telling you that this work doesn't align with your true purpose. Marcus Aurelius struggled with this constantly. As emperor, he was expected to enjoy the trappings of power, to indulge in the pleasures available to the most powerful man in the world. Yet he found himself drawn again and again to philosophy, to introspection, to the quiet work of understanding. Human nature and his place in the cosmic order is procrastination. On imperial duties was actually his soul calling him toward his true work. The seventh hack is learning to distinguish between resistance that comes from fear and resistance that comes from misalignment. Fear-based resistance feels tight, anxious, accompanied by stories about why you're not good enough, or ready enough, or smart enough. Misalignment-based resistance feels heavy, lifeless, accompanied by a sense that you're moving in the wrong direction. Entirely, when you encounter resistance, pause and investigate it. Is this task truly important to your deeper purpose, or are you doing it because you think you should? The Stoics were ruthless about eliminating should-based, living in favor of purpose-based action. Seneca wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. Life is long enough if you know how to use it. In the digital age, this wisdom is more relevant than ever. We don't have a shortage of time, we have a shortage of intention. We don't need more hours in the day. We need more clarity about what deserves our hours." This clarity comes from what the Stoics called the discipline of judgment. Before you engage with any task, any distraction, any demand on your attention, you ask yourself 3 questions. Is this necessary? Is this under my control? Does this move me toward or away from who I want to become? These questions function as a filter, separating the essential from the merely urgent, the meaningful from the merely novel. They transform procrastination from an unconscious habit into a conscious choice. But perhaps the most powerful anti-procrastination insight from the Stoics is this: procrastination is not a character flaw, it's a navigation system. It's your psyche's way of telling you that something is off. Maybe you're working on the wrong things. Maybe you're working for the wrong reasons. Maybe you're working in the wrong way. Epictetus taught his students that every emotion, every impulse, every resistance was information. He'd say, don't explain your philosophy, embody it. Yes. This means that instead of fighting procrastination, you learn from it. Yes. Instead of judging yourself for delaying, you get curious about what the delay is trying to tell you. The 8th and final hack is this: procrastination often disappears when you align your daily actions with your deepest values. The Stoics called this living according to nature, not the nature of trees and animals, but human nature at its highest expression. When you're doing work that feels true to who you are, when you're building something that matters to you, when you're growing in ways that align with your deepest aspirations, procrastination becomes much less of a problem. This doesn't mean that all meaningful work feels easy. Stoics understood that the most important work is often the most difficult. But there's a difference between the difficulty that comes from growth and the difficulty that comes from misalignment. Growth difficulty feels challenging but energizing. Misalignment difficulty feels draining and pointless. Marcus Aurelius spent years fighting battles he didn't want to fight, managing an empire he didn't particularly enjoy ruling, dealing with political complexities that exhausted him. Yet he never procrastinated on his philosophical writing. Why? Because writing helped him make sense of everything else. It was his way of processing experience, of finding meaning in difficulty, of staying connected to his deeper purpose even. While managing external demands, you have work like this too. Work that energizes you even when it's difficult. Work that connects you to your deeper purpose. Work that makes you feel like you're becoming who you're meant to be. The tragedy is that most people procrastinate on precisely this work because it feels too important, too vulnerable, too exposing. The Stoics would tell you that this is exactly backwards. The work you're most afraid of doing is usually the work most worth doing. The project you keep delaying because it matters too much is the project that deserves your best energy. Your prime time, your most focused attention. Seneca had a phrase. For this, carpe diem, though the concept was deeper than our modern interpretation suggests. It wasn't about impulsive pleasure-seeking, but about recognizing that this moment, this day, this opportunity to act in alignment with your values is all you truly have. Yesterday is gone, tomorrow is not guaranteed, but right now you have the power to choose. This choice is available to you every moment. When the notification pings, you can choose to check it or to continue your important work. When the urge to scroll arises, you can choose to scroll or to write another paragraph. When the voice of procrastination whispers that you'll start tomorrow, you can choose to believe it or to start right now. The Stoics understood that freedom is not the ability to do whatever you want, but the ability to want what you do. When your actions align with your deepest values, when your daily choices reflect your highest aspirations, when your work contributes to something larger than yourself, procrastination naturally diminishes because you're no longer fighting against yourself. This is why the Stoic approach to procrastination is so powerful. It doesn't rely on tricks or hacks or external systems, though these can be helpful. It relies on something much more fundamental: clarity about who you are and what you're here to do. When this clarity is present, action becomes natural, inevitable, even joyful. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire, but his real legacy is the private journal he wrote to remind himself how to live well. Seneca amassed great wealth and political influence, but his real contribution is the letters he wrote to teach others about virtue and wisdom. Epictetus was born a slave and died a teacher, but his real freedom came from understanding what was truly under his control. Each of these men faced the same choice you face every day. Will I live reactively, responding to whatever demands my attention most loudly, or will I live proactively, guided by my deepest understanding of what matters? Will I let my life be shaped by the urgent or by the important? Will I choose the easy path of immediate gratification or the difficult path of meaningful action? The digital age has made this choice more complex, but not more complicated. The distractions are new, but the fundamental challenge is ancient. The Stoics faced their version of social media in the form of gossip and social climbing. Their version of information overload in the form of endless philosophical debates and political intrigues. They faced their version of FOMO in the form of constant comparisons to other wealthy, powerful, successful people, yet they found a way to stay focused on what truly mattered. They developed practices that kept them grounded in their values even when the world around them was chaotic and demanding. They learned to find peace in the midst of activity, purpose in the midst of pressure, meaning in the midst of complexity. You can learn these same practices. You can develop this same clarity. You can build this same strength. But only if you start today. It's only if you choose, in this moment, to prioritize what matters over what's merely urgent. Only if you decide that your deepest work, your most important contribution, your truest self is worth protecting from the endless stream of digital distractions. The Stoics would tell you that procrastination is not your enemy, it's your teacher. It's showing you where your life is out of alignment, where you're working on the wrong things for the wrong reasons in the wrong way. Listen to what it's trying to tell you. Then make the changes necessary to live in greater harmony with your deepest values and highest aspirations. Tomorrow morning, when your alarm goes off and your phone beckons with its promise of easy entertainment, Remember Marcus Aurelius struggling with the same choice 2,000 years ago? Remember that he chose to get up, to do his difficult work, to serve something larger than his immediate comfort. Remember that this choice made him not just a successful emperor, but a timeless teacher of how to live well. Your life is not a dress rehearsal. This is not a practice round. The work you do today, the choices you make in the next hour, the way you respond to the next distraction, these are the building blocks of your character and the foundation of your legacy. The Stoics believe that philosophy is not an academic subject, but a way of life, not something you study, but something you practice, not something you know, but something you become. The ultimate test of this philosophy is not whether you can explain it eloquently, but whether you can live it consistently. Right now, as these words end, you have a choice. You can close this video and immediately check your notifications returning to the familiar patterns that have kept you stuck. Or you can close this video and immediately begin your most important work, taking the first step toward the person you're meant to become. The Stoics would tell you that this choice, this moment, this opportunity to act in alignment with your deepest values is the most important thing happening in your life right now. Not the notifications waiting on your phone, not the posts you haven't seen, not the emails you haven't answered. This choice, this moment, this chance to choose growth over comfort, meaning over ease, purpose over distraction. 2,000 years ago, 3 men chose to prioritize what mattered over what was merely urgent. They chose to do difficult work in service of something larger than themselves. They chose to build something lasting in a world full of temporary distractions. Their choices echo through history, inspiring millions of people to live with greater purpose and intention. Your choices can have the same power, not because you'll become famous or influential, but because you'll become fully yourself. You'll discover what you're truly capable of when you stop hiding behind procrastination and start engaging fully with your life. The time for preparation is over. The time for planning is past. The time for starting tomorrow is done. The Stoics are calling to you across the centuries, reminding you that this moment is all you have and all you need. The question is not whether you're ready. The question is whether you're willing. Are you willing to trade the comfort of procrastination for the satisfaction of meaningful action? Are you willing to exchange the safety of delay for the risk of actually trying? Are you willing to become the person your deepest self knows you can be? The answer to these questions will not come from thinking about them, but from acting on them. The Stoics understood that clarity comes through action, not before it. You become the person you want to be by acting like that person today, not by waiting until you feel ready to start. Close this video. Put down your phone, open your most important work, and begin. Not tomorrow. Not when you feel ready. Not when conditions are perfect. Now, today, this moment. This is how procrastination ends. This is how purpose begins. This is how you honor the wisdom of the ages, by living it in the present moment. The Stoics are waiting to see what you'll do with their gift of understanding. History is waiting to see what you'll build with your precious and limited time. Your future self is waiting to see whether you'll choose the path of comfort or the path of growth. The choice is yours. The time is now. The opportunity is here. What will you choose?